As she stepped inside, the warm aroma of coffee and baked goods wrapped around her like a comforting hug. Behind the counter stood a man she had seen before but never spoken to, Ethan Carter. He was 32, tall, with tousled dark hair and deep blue eyes that often looked tired but kind. There was something about him that drew people's attention, though not always in a good way. Rumors followed him like shadows. Some whispered that he had failed at business ventures, others that he had personal demons he couldn't control. People avoided him, judged him quietly, yet Lily noticed none of that. She ordered her usual latte and found a corner seat near the window, pulling out her laptop to start her morning work. She couldn't help but glance at Ethan as he prepared drinks, carefully measuring espresso shots, his hands steady despite the lines of stress on his face. When he caught her looking, he gave a small, polite smile. It was a simple gesture, but for Lily, it spoke volumes. There was a depth to him that others refused to see, and instinctively, she wanted to know him better. Over the next few weeks, their silent morning encounters grew into small conversations. "Rough morning?" Lily asked one rainy day, noticing the faint dark circles under his eyes. Ethan chuckled softly. "You could say that. Busy night at the diner and barely any sleep." It wasn't much, but Lily sensed his honesty, his vulnerability. And gradually, she learned more. He had lost his parents young, struggled to make ends meet, and yet had an undeniable kindness that shone in the way he treated people, even when they were rude or dismissive. Other people noticed their growing camaraderie, and the whispers began. "Why does she talk to him? Don't you see who he is?" coworkers and acquaintances would mutter. Friends questioned Lily's choices, cautioning her against trusting someone they considered a failure. But Lily remained unshaken. She had always believed that everyone had a story, and Ethan's story was one worth understanding. One evening, a harsh winter storm hit the city, leaving streets slick and dangerous. Lily was closing up her apartment when she noticed Ethan struggling to get his car out of a snowbank across the street. Without thinking twice, she grabbed her coat and ran outside. Together, they pushed the car free, laughing through the exhaustion and cold. It was a small act, but for Ethan, it was monumental. No one else had ever offered help so freely, and it stirred something inside him, a sense that perhaps people could see him for who he really was, not the rumors. Their friendship deepened, and soon, it became impossible to ignore the growing affection between them. But challenges arose. Ethan's past financial mistakes resurfaced, threatening his already fragile confidence, and Lily faced skepticism from her family, who couldn't understand why she cared for someone society had deemed unworthy. She would hear remarks like, "He's not good for you," or "Why waste your time?" But she remained steadfast, reminding herself, and quietly reminding Ethan, that judgment from others could never define their worth. One night, during a particularly vulnerable moment, Ethan confessed his fears. "I've always been broken, Lily. People see me and think I'm nothing, but inside I just want someone to see the good, to see me without judgment." Lily held his hands tightly, looking into those blue eyes filled with raw honesty. "I see you, Ethan. Always have, always will. You're not defined by what they think or what you've been through. You're defined by your heart, your kindness, and the way you fight to be better every day." Time passed, and the pair faced obstacles together. Ethan slowly rebuilt his life, finding stability in a small but promising business venture, while Lily's unwavering support gave him the courage to trust himself again. The gossip and judgment faded, powerless against the authenticity of their bond. People eventually began to notice, not just their closeness, but the respect and love they shared, built on understanding and acceptance. Years later, standing on the balcony of a small apartment overlooking the city skyline, Ethan turned to Lily with a smile that reflected the trials they had survived. "You never judged me," he said softly, voice thick with emotion. "Even when everyone else did, you saw me. You gave me a chance to be seen as I am." Lily rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the warmth of a journey that had started with small gestures and quiet faith. I never needed anyone else's approval, she whispered. I just needed to see the person I knew you were inside. And in that moment, surrounded by the soft glow of the city lights, they realized that love built on understanding and acceptance could withstand any judgment. Their story was proof that the courage to see beyond what others say, to believe in the unseen goodness in someone, could change lives. They had found each other, not in spite of the world, but because they refused to let the world's judgment define them.